Peter, good afternoon. What do you make of what Shabana Mahmood said there? She said, show a little sensitivity. I think people should show a heck of a lot more sensitivity, much more than a little, and call off these protests on a matter of taste and decency. I'm not talking about the right to protest. I'm talking about taste and decency and reading the room, which these protesters resolutely fail to do.
Well, I'm coming at it from a slightly different stance, which is not about taste and decency. It's about the operational demands that will now be placed on our police the length and breadth of the country. Clearly, additional security is going to have to be provided to synagogues, Jewish places of worship, and I would suspect, as more information about the terrorist who is now dead, Jihad Al-Shami, comes forward, it may be that it is deemed necessary to put additional security measures around mosques, for example. Not, of course, because the Jewish population has a reputation for violence. They don't. In fact, if you go online and put into your search engine terrorist attack committed by a Jewish man in Northern Europe, you won't get any responses, because that's not what the Jewish people do. But there might be some people who are hugely irritated, for example, by this outrage and might idiotically feel compelled to go and damage a mosque, for example. I sincerely hope not. So that's why this march, this protest tomorrow, should not take place. It's also in support of Palestine Action, a proscribed terrorist group, another reason why it shouldn't happen. But as last night showed us, there are some ghastly people out there who probably will not listen.
I mean, just so many railway stations as well. Liverpool Lime Street, Manchester Piccadilly, Liverpool Street Station in London, Edinburgh Waverley, Cardiff Central, Sheffield Railway Station, Farnborough Station in Hampshire as well. These people just have absolutely no sense of decency by choosing last night in order to do these protests. I just wonder if you could tell me a little bit more about what we know about the suspect himself, because of course it's unclear so far if he is the same person who sent death threats to an MP a number of years ago.
Yes, that's not certain, but what we do know is Jihad Al-Shami came to the UK apparently when he was aged about 6, and consequently became a naturalised British citizen and has lived in the northwest of the country for most of that time, so I'm told. Not somebody that the counter-terrorism police were aware of, that they had on their radar, never subject to the PREVENT programme, for example. But somehow, what is absolutely clear is that he has been radicalised into committing a murderous act of terrorism yesterday. I'm sure we will find out in the not-too-distant future how that came about. Counter-terror police will have seized any devices that they think he may have had access to, phones, laptops, iPads, all that kind of stuff, and the history of those will be thoroughly debriefed in order that they can see how was he radicalised, where was he radicalised, by whom, and what inspired this appalling atrocity.
Tell us about the firearms officer as well, who we think there was a tragic accident where he shot an innocent person. Tell us about that and what the police will be doing now in terms of working out exactly what happened, why it happened, and what happens to that officer.
Yes, I've had the gun oil under my fingernails because I was an authorised firearms officer, albeit many years ago. So I went through the training, much of which has changed and got better. But I've been in situations where you have to make absolute split-second life or death decisions, and then you've got to pull the trigger. You really barely have the time to think about it. It's instantaneous. Matters are panning out in front of you in real time, and decisions often are quite literally split second. We have heard, of course, that unfortunately 2 of the Jewish worshippers were hit by bullets from that gun. I suspect, and this again will be subject to independent Office of Police Conduct investigation, and we will find out, but I would suspect that this is probably an unintended and very unfortunate consequence of armed officers endeavouring to take out Jihad Al-Shami.
Yeah. Peter, as always, thank you. That's Peter Bleksley there, former Metropolitan Police detective and our crime commentator here at Talk. Chris gave us a ring yesterday from Manchester. He's a retired firearms officer himself. Chris, it's good to talk to you again today, but it's very sad, of course, that we have that news. What do you make of the information we now have today, and what are your thoughts towards that officer who made that tragic mistake?
Yeah, good afternoon, Peter. Good afternoon.
Hi, Chris.
Viewers. Yeah, it's a very, very unfortunate, tragic situation that's arisen. Obviously, I wasn't aware of the circumstances relating to the unintended victims, that the guys who were actually inside the synagogue when the officer discharged his weapon. It's very difficult to speculate on the exact circumstances, but...
Just tell us, maybe not get into the exact circumstances, because we just don't know. What we do know is that a mistake was made. How difficult is it? We've heard from Peter Bleksley there, he was a firearms officer, so were you. I mean, how difficult is it in those kind of situations? You have a heck of a lot of training, but in the end, the judgment is split second, as Peter says.
That he may have been given, and obviously any kind of dynamic risk assessment that he conducts when he arrives, and obviously all that has to be done in a matter of a very, very few seconds. Now, obviously, the officer is under an obligation that whatever he does can and will be scrutinised afterwards. And it's the officer himself who has to justify what he did and why he did it.
Yes.
I don't think it's particularly helpful for us to speculate on the exact circumstances.
No, but let's talk generally in that, Chris. I mean, that person's life, his family's life, is going to change dramatically now.
Absolutely. I mean, he will be, as I mentioned yesterday, he'll be. It's a standard practice. He will be removed from firearms duties immediately. And he will probably be removed for any kind of public-facing duties. Mm-hmm. He will be given a considerable amount of support by the force and by his colleagues. And
is it possible? Again, we don't know the exact circumstances, but is it possible that he could face criminal charges?
It's always possible because there will be a mandatory referral. Whatever had there been, as I mentioned yesterday, as soon as an officer discharges a weapon,
yes,
if there's a mandatory referral to the IOPC, whatever the outcome, whatever the circumstance. Mm-hmm. So the actual mechanisms as to what follows doesn't alter. Okay. Notwithstanding the very, very tragic consequences of his or her alleged actions. Okay.
Yeah.
So it will go to the IOP. Obviously, there'll have to be an inquest on both the
deaths, terrorist death on the innocent man's,
and the innocent victim.
Sure.
They will open up first. Yeah. They will then be. Those will be adjourned until such time as the various investigations are conducted in relation to the officer, and that will be carried out by the IOPC, who, on completion of their inquiries, will make recommendations potentially to the Constitution Service or the DPP as to whether or not it's appropriate for that any kind of criminal charges are appropriate. And then on top of that, the officer potentially faces misconduct allegations. So it's going
to be a long road for that person, and of course, I mean, the huge sympathies, of course, to the family of that victim as well, and it just illustrates how the battle against terrorism is a really, really tricky one in so many ways. Chris, I really appreciate you coming on again today and illuminating that for us. I appreciate your call yesterday as well. Thanks for coming back on.